Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card is inspired by a new Trish James Oracle deck that I recently purchased called the Immortal Cycle Oracle. And that is one that she did in collaboration with author Kane Dodd, who wrote a book called King's Tide, which you can get, if you like, along with the Oracle itself if you chose to get a copy for yourself. All the details of all the decks that I ever use are always in the description box below and where I source them if anybody's interested. But what I really was drawn to with this, apart from the fact that it's beautiful like all of Trish's decks, is that it has a lot of roles in it because it's coming from a novel, a fantasy novel. It has a lot of different roles in it, and I felt it also has advice and other things as well. But the roles to me are really interesting in the sense of what might your spiritual narrative or your spiritual role be right now, and what other elements or advice are connected with that. So that's what we're looking at today. It's like, what is your spiritual narrative right now? Doesn't have to be forever. It's just what's going on at the moment. And for the choice, we have one role that Spirit has sort of said for the choice, for the piles. There are two other cards from the deck underneath there. I don't know what they are. They may be other roles, so it could be an amalgamation type of role, or that you might toggle between different aspects for your spiritual path at the moment. There could be some advice or other energies and so forth. So we're going to look at them individually and also combined when we get to the tarot section. But the idea is just kind of, who are you in the spiritual world at this point in time? What are you here to do? What are the sort of skills that you might bring and so forth? So to help with the choices, I say, I did shuffle and then said the first three roles that came out were going to be roles for the purposes of the choice. So the first one that we have for pile one is Cosmic Cycle Breaker. For pile number two, we have Cosmic Gamer. And for pile number three, it's a little bit hard to read with the shadow, but it's Cosmic Conqueror. So if any of those particular images or concepts draw to you, then by all means go to that. You can go to more than one reading. There may be sort of roles across readings or roles that apply for different things in your life. So you do you on that, or if you always go to pile two, go to pile two, whatever works for you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile one to your reading. So you came to Cosmic Cycle Breaker, that talks about disrupting and breaking cycles for liberation. You actually have three roles that seem to be part of a continuum, and also kind of a way of creating both change and a foundation. They make a lot of sense together. So it makes sense that you would do all these things. Your main role within things, or the energy that's around at the moment for you, is disrupting something. That could be disrupting relationships, a workplace, a social or political issue, a spiritual group or spiritual belief. There's something here about breaking cycles. There's something here about understanding what patterns need to be shifted from. But there is also those that need to be preserved, because we have Keeper of History, preservation, preserving what is important. And then it's when you've done that, when you've broken the cycles, you preserve what's important. What do you do with it? Well, then we actually have the Founder's Vault. So this is about establishing something, sort of beginning with a tangible manifestation. So we're actually really looking, I think, at a continuum. You have a change agent energy, I would say. But it's not just to be the change, it's also to establish something better and not lose what was good from the past. So if this was playing in a workplace, you would be sort of someone who came in and would restructure an organisation, I would think, rather than just sort of administering it into non-existence anymore, that kind of thing. So you're on a kind of continuum, and you have a very practical way of looking at things. You have a sense of the value of history where it's important, but you also can stop things from getting stagnant, stop things from getting stuck. Spiritually, you keep the momentum going, you keep evolution going, you keep development going. But it's practical. It's practical, and it reveres the past where the past should be revered. It reveres ancient knowledge and so forth. So you're sort of one part change agent, one part builder, and one part archivist. And as I say, it's like you almost look after a whole cycle of change in birthing the new as well as keeping what was important from the past. So that's a very powerful group of roles to have together. It shows that you see something from the beginning to the end and that you have a very strong sense of spiritual discernment. So let's use the occult tarot and let's ask a little bit more about each role. So we're going to start with disrupt because that's what you came in to do, but then we'll do preservation because it makes sense that when you're disrupting, you also at the same time need to preserve what is important. How does that play out for you? What does that actually mean? And then we'll have a look at establishing what you're building and then how it all comes together. So a little bit more about your spiritual narrative around disruption. King of Pentacles reversed, well, that makes a lot of sense. Death card, the Moon reversed, Eight of Swords, Ace of... This is describing exactly this. I must say, this is a strong group. Like the kind of coherence of the three coming together and then the coherence even of this, it's like everything is in this. It is telling us that there was a reason that Spirit had the cosmic cycle breaker as the main one to draw you in, because that is the key thing. But inherent in all of it are the other roles. That's what this is saying, because we've got, first of all, the King of Pentacles reversed, the old order, the old kind of like Pentacles energy has to fall. You come into play spiritually when something has to fall. It doesn't necessarily have to have meant that it's corrupted, because you do have the Keeper of History, so there could be things of value. But what you do know, what you do discern extremely well, is when something has reached its zenith, when it's reached all that it is going to give and something new is needed. And here, over here, we've got the Ace of Pentacles reversed. So we are talking about the cycle breaker. But even with the cycle breaker, we have a hint of the Founder's Vault. We know that you're not just going to be about the passing away of the past, you're also about the birth of the new. And what we look at here is the will towards change and the transition that is necessary. But it's also kind of uncovering where one's ideas, attitudes and so forth could have blocked or inhibited change, either for yourself or for others. So there's a kind of an investigative energy. It's not just coming in and saying all must transform, because we do have the Keeper of History here. So the Moon, what do we uncover about what needs to be changed and what doesn't need to be changed? And where has it been difficult to change because we have kept things sort of like we've almost not examined what needs to be examined? You feel like you're sort of someone who would go into a situation and you would pretty much pick up the rocks and look underneath them, not because you were necessarily thinking there was something problematic, just because you sort of know that it's in the cycle, and cycles themselves are like this. There is a period of reaching, as I say, the zenith, and then there is the decay of certain things, just like the seasons. Just like going from summer into autumn and then into winter. This is sort of like just making sure that what is seeded into the future around winter to be born into the next cycle is right, and that the change is right, and that it is a choice. So there's a freedom energy here. It's not meant to tie up in a new kind of set of chains. In fact, I think there's something about you which is meant to be kind of continuous improvement. It's meant to sort of look at where things atrophy and where or calcify probably is a better word for it. And like how you can free and liberate that, so that maybe eventually you don't have to keep going through this process. Like you get to the point where there's enough freedom that something becomes self-generating, but you are the person who kind of gets when change is necessary. But as I say, you're not kind of anarchic. You don't come in and just throw everything up in the air and just sort of walk away, like with something and go towards something new. It's very considered, and it's very kind of forensic in its nature. So you spiritually are meant to bring change, but not lose what is of value, and set, like a gardener, set the scene for growth. So that's the cycle breaker. What about the Keeper of History then? So one secondary but related role. Four of Pentacles reversed, Nine of Pentacles reversed, Nine of Cups, Six of Cups reversed. Okay. So the Keeper of History is not because you have the cosmic cycle breaker as your dominant role here. You're not going to just keep something just for the sake of it. Four of Pentacles reversed is you keep that which is a foundation. You move away from that which has stopped further growth. And you also the keeper of history looks to what is part of the community or part of a kind of communal energy, what needs to be shared with others and so forth. So when you are looking at it, you're looking at the things that would have created a foundation and can help to create a foundation in something new, but not the things that stopped it growing, and the things that were towards the communal good. Like this is a very strong energy of the communal good. You've got the Nine of Cups and then you've got the Nine of Pentacles reversed. This is for a group. You are doing this for a group of people, I would say. So it's in organizations, it's, as I say, politically, socially, it could be within spiritual groups. It's not really focused on your own spiritual development. It doesn't mean that you aren't spiritually developing while you're doing it, but your focus is very much on the group and the collective good, and about making sure that anything that cannot create a good new foundation is left behind. So you are just as much the archivist of what's valuable, but you also are very strict about what comes forward. So if you were looking at a group that had some good ideals but fell over because it was corrupt in the way that it was doing things and it tended to rationalize behaviors and so forth, you would cut away those things that were hypocritical and antithetical to what that group was meant to do. And you would put in place something that says, there may even be within the Keeper of History, there may be a section which is, this is how it went wrong, so that that doesn't happen again. So I do think that it is about continuous improvement. It's not just change for change's sake. What about the Founder's Vault, the other part of this, you being the person who establishes something new once this is done? Forbidden Right, that's an additional card in this deck. The Seven of Pentacles, the Three of Swords, the Queen of Wands. It's interesting that we get the Queen of Wands and it was a female figure there around the Founder's Vault. I mean, with the Ace of Pentacles reversed, it has that sort of sense of the divine feminine, of birthing something. But it's kind of birthing something that is mature. So this, as I say, it's continuous improvement. You're not, I don't think you're meant to be someone who comes in and starts something completely new. You are someone who revises and improves things that exist. And therefore, it's like birthing something, but birthing it fully actualized rather than birthing something that is an infant and has to grow up. It's interesting the Forbidden Right is there. I think that there is a process for you spiritually before you can do this. I think, in fact, this is why we have these two. It's like when you do change, you have to actually have properly honoured history and so forth to be able to cross the threshold. If you tried to cross the threshold without the Keeper of History, that would be blocked. So anytime you just want to sort of throw the past completely away and start again, you would be blocked, because there is a wisdom in that. There is not losing what was important. And you may sometimes feel you want to do that because it's frustrating how slowly things can grow sometimes. But that growth has to be able to understand and separate from that which is in the past, to understand where it's come from. Because, as I say, it's like it's fully formed. So the best example I can use is something like restructuring an organisation. It's not, the organisation still exists. It's just been changed, in some either very subtle or very significant ways, but it is still a full organisation at that point. And you kind of need to understand the growth patterns that you came through. It's almost like, actually, it's interesting, the Queen of Wands and this. It feels to me like they say, and I've never had children, so I don't know, but they say pain of childbirth, women forget that. And they say if you didn't forget it, you'd never have another child. So I think that's sort of interesting, because there's something here about this role, this Founder's Vault, and establishing something, is that it needs to remember and honour the growth that got there, but separate from it because it's different. So it's a balance. This role is making you balance the past and the future. That's what this is talking about. It's not, if you threw away the past completely or forgot it, the balance would tilt in the wrong direction. It wouldn't balance. Equally, if you only looked at what you were, the new thing, and you kind of forgot the past, then it would tilt the wrong way as well. There is a sort of a sense of you know this instinctively, that you have to have the full cycle. You have to remember the past, but detach from it enough to be the future. But the future one day will be the past as well, and the cycle continues. But yeah, you work in fully formed groups, fully formed organizations, fully formed spiritual traditions, whatever it is. You are an agent of change, but you are also an agent, as I say, of archiving, of not losing or forgetting how one got to where one is. So interesting. So let's just see the combined energy. So I'm just going to put down 3 cards for that, how these all combine. 3 of Wands reversed, Justice reversed, 10 of Cups. Yeah, it's saying it again. What it is saying, there's something, I think a lot of you work either spiritually or politically or socially or something like that, because it is around groups, community or something. It says that if you are to come towards the ultimate best outcome, to go from the 9 of Cups to the 10 of Cups, to go the community good, the good for all, you have to both remember but also move away from that which was unjust or wrong before. So it's like the keeper of history is not just keeping that which is valuable, it's also keeping the journey so you understand what you moved away from. So you don't replicate it again, because you understand as a cycle breaker that cycles can easily replicate. So yeah, you are someone who could talk about how we got where we got to and why. And yeah, it's like they say the prophet is actually the person who understands history, because they see the patterns. This is kind of prophetic in a way. You're kind of a prophet, but you have a very particular role associated with it. Okay, so let's get some fortune energy around this for you at the moment. So we'll use the Lenormand deck. That's the sister deck to this tarot. We're just going to get 3 cards for like what kind of fortune energy is around you at the moment in this narrative, in this role or set of roles that you have. Rider. Okay, so something is coming to you. News is coming to you. It could be about any of these things, but it's more likely to be one of those two, because the Rider is a little bit more future focused, so making the change in the new, whereas Keeper of History is more the past. So I think there's something in one of those two roles. There's information coming to you that's important. And it's tricky. Okay, you're going to get some pushback. You're going to get some arguments. It's maybe going to be a bit of a block around what you're trying to do. And again, this is why this is so important, because I think you will be able to point back to, this is why I'm doing this. This is the history of this sort of thing. And ship, then you can show how it's actually better for everyone, because the ship is kind of like your ships come in, or rising tide raises all boats, that kind of energy. So I think this is, you are actually at this point, wanting to move into that point. You're going to get resistance to what you're trying to do, but because you remember and you can talk about why you're going in a direction, you can show how this is going to be beneficial to all. So this is very much a narrative about people who work with groups or some sort of collective aim, and you've got a very clear understanding of how to bring that into being. But it's going to be challenged right now. That's why you were drawn to this reading, but you can show from history how the cycle is going to operate and how this is going to work well for people. Okay, so what are some gifts to use, spiritual gifts to use in this narrative? Forgiveness. Okay, well, that makes sense. It's like, again, if you are the keeper of history, even if you see what went wrong before, you need to be able to forgive, and that things can change and that new things can be done. If you don't, you'd throw the whole thing out. And you demonize others. So it's very, very important not to demonize others, to learn from the mistakes of history, also to learn from what worked and be able to say, we're moving forward. We all make mistakes, we move forward. So that energy within you, that spiritual energy, is very important. And activation, yeah, so that you can actually bring something into being. This feels to me like you tend to deal with cycles and groups and organizations, whatever it might be, that you are part of. So you have to be able to forgive and work with the people that you need to activate the new world with. That's what this is talking about. So your capacity to do that is one of the reasons that this is your spiritual narrative. You're able to do that in ways that others can't. Let's get you a couple of animal spirit guides to help. Badger. I fight for what I want. Yeah, you are able to do it. Like you're not going to just sort of sit idly by. You will have the battle, you'll have the argument when it's necessary because you know what you're talking about. You know, you can actually show the facts and figures. And B, extract the honey of life. Yeah, to bring the best for everybody. And the B again is a very communal insect. It works for the greater good of the greater number. There's something about that with you. You have a very important role in organisations because you come very much from a pure place on that level. Okay, so let's just see 3 areas of life or whatever in energies astrologically that tell you a little bit more about how this is playing out for you. So we're just going to roll the astro dice 3 times. So we'll do it literally 1 for each roll, but we can combine them in what we're thinking about. So around the cosmic cycle breaker, what a surprise. We get Pluto in Cancer, family, community, groups, friendships in the 5th house, something creative. This is a creative energy, a creative change. You are a creator in some way. For some of you, you might actually do it through creative stuff, through writing or painting or singing or doing a movie or something like that with the 5th house. For some of you also, this helps with love and romance and relationships, but most of this feels much more around creativity. But your cycle breaking is a creative process for the group or the family and for what makes people feel secure. When we look at the keeper of history, we have Saturn. Again, of course, that makes sense. History. What does need to last, what needs to be let go of with the King of Pentacles reversed in Libra, what is fair, what is balanced, how do you get the balance between the past and the present in the 12th house. This is kept a little bit more secret now. This is kept a little bit more hidden. It's archived, as I say. That makes sense. And then in terms of the new energy coming through with the Founder's Vault, we have Neptune, bringing in the ideal, dreaming it all up in Virgo, making it material in the 7th house and connecting it with other people. So it's very strongly saying whatever this is connected to others. And I think to groups. I don't think this is just about a romance. I think this is about groups that you work with in one form or another. You archive and keep what is necessary within the vault almost, within the 12th house. But you are taking people forward to have the change that is necessary and create what is necessary with others and in relationships and how relationships impact it. Very good with people, I think, with understanding how to shift ideas and shift hearts and minds and so forth. Okay, so to just bring it all together, I'm going to use another of Trisha's decks. This is the Neptune Moon deck. And I'm just going to ask you to think of a number between 1 and 5. And we're just going to get a different card for each of those numbers, and that will be how we sum up what happens. So pause if you need to, because I'm about to deal out. So number 1, reveal the hidden. Number 2, radiant energy alignment. Number 3, scribe, toss. Number 4, subtle awareness. And number 5, Jupiter's bounty. Okay, so if you chose number 1, there is a lot that is hidden. This is probably a little bit covert, what you do. It is a little bit under, you're more likely to be sort of someone who influences rather than leads. Or you may have to bring up things from the past or things that aren't working, or be a bit of a truth teller before the change energy can occur. So there's something, and this is the moon reversed also. This is the forensic side of it. That's very important. It's probably particularly important right now that you need to bring to the surface what is going on and why a liberation and a rebalancing is necessary. If you chose number 2, this is something that you will have a kind of a connection to the divine, a connection to divine energy and so forth. Very creative, very positive, but it's important, I think, for you to make sure you feel aligned with what you're doing. So your chakras and aura align with this, because you are very much an influencer in this. And if you feel out of whack with it, then it's not going to work. So the first thing you have to do is make sure you've understood what change is necessary, why, what you keep, what you start afresh, and have a very clear understanding of that and align it with your own energy centers. If you chose number 3, that creative side of things, and I'm saying writing or something like that, is very important. You certainly need to keep a record of it with the keeper of history. But I feel like the way that you speak, the things that you write, that kind of thing, the narrative that you tell is very important here. If you chose number 4, subtle awareness, see the signs, it's asking you to look for synchronicities, signs and so forth. You will get guidance through those. And if you chose number 5, Jupiter's bounty, expansion and growth, it's really saying this is the mother lode. This is what you're heading towards, the new. And there's a very big energy here of leaving some past, almost Kronos like King of Pentacles energy reversed to go towards Jupiter. So Saturn to Jupiter. There is a very big shift from the past operating here. And I think for many of you, it's probably far more like in an organization or something political or social, because it's big. It's a handing over. It's a passing of the baton that's involved. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Cosmic Gamer, Reprogram. It's a game, master it, rewrite it. So certainly a sort of sense in your narrative that you sort of see, we're in the Matrix or we're in some sort of like virtual reality game, or that like spirituality in our path is a bit like playing a game and understanding it. And once you understand it, you can actually reprogram it, reprogram yourself, reprogram others, reset in some way. It's interesting because I think that this is coming up because you realize that you've got caught in a kind of a loop, because we also have loop maker, trapped, thought prison, or repeating loop. Like you've seen that you or others around you have got caught in a loop and the game's almost kind of stuck, or it's hard to develop or do what you want. It's kind of like, oh, I just believe this is the case because it's always happened. Because it's always happened, I keep making it happen. Therefore, I believe that it's always the case. And you just get caught in this sort of loop energy. But this is about awakening, awakener, enlighten, the soul remembers. So this is like seeing the game. Like this actually feels like, the point in the Matrix movie where Neo suddenly just gets it, and he actually sees Agent Smith in his various versions as sort of like Matrix sort of zeros and ones, and understands and remembers kind of who he is and remembers what the Matrix is. That's kind of where you're at the moment, I think. It's something in your life you've actually seen the patterns and the loops, and you recognize in a way that you've created them yourself as much as other people around you, an awakening to start to be the authentic you within a game rather than just almost like an avatar within a game. That's the energy that I'm getting here. So I feel that this is you starting to almost step apart from that, see the patterns and work out how to be more autonomous and more authentic, and maybe then show others to do that. But at the moment, this feels very much like for you, there's been an aha moment. There's been a leveling up spiritually and an understanding, a different perspective. So you can now potentially go back and create loops that are positive rather than ones that are trapping from a more awakened state. But at the very least, see where loops are holding you or others back. So that's very interesting. Let's have a look what we get with tarot. So we'll do reprogram first, then we'll do trap, then we'll do enlightened, and then we'll see what they have together. But firstly, let's look at reprogram. That's the main one that brought you in, the Cosmic Gamer. So what is that saying about your spiritual narrative at the moment? Knight of Pentacles, the Hierophant reversed, Three of Wands reversed, Ace of Pentacles reversed. Okay, right. You're very dedicated. You're dedicated to your spirituality. You're dedicated to a cause. You're very loyal. And that may have been one of the things that got you trapped sometimes. Your loyalty, your dedication, you're just turning up and just doing it. But there's been an awareness, like with the Hierophant reverse, that the rules aren't quite what they pretend to be, and the direction isn't what you've been shown. So the Knight of Pentacles has been, okay, I've been playing by the rules. I've been doing what's required of me, whether it's in an organization or socially or spiritually or whatever it might be. But you're suddenly starting to see there's something in the web of what's going on that is not what it appears to be. The Hierophant reverse is something you're either becoming heretical and rising above the spiritual energy and rising above the game, or you're seeing the corruption, I guess, within that, and a lack of true direction. You're not yet really sure what you want to bring in. You just know that you need to move away from these patterns that keep recurring. Some of this is about stuff from way back in your childhood, like it's like reprogramming from things that you believed about yourself or the world from childhood. And you are not going to, once you've done this, you are never going to see those things the same way again. You're not going to, that programming is actually going to be gone. So it's more like right now you're at the point of understanding what you have to. I mean, it's literally like being deprogrammed from a cult, actually. I'm not saying that you're all in a cult, but like it's got that sort of feeling. Right now, that's what you're doing. You're seeing how it's being manipulated. You're seeing how things have got stuck. And you've seen how your own loyalty towards whatever it is has been part of what got you caught in the loop. So you're not yet at the point, you are awakening, but you're not yet at the point of doing anything about it. It's more a point of moving away from something. So let's have a look at the loop maker. Let's see the kind of energy that you're kind of trying to move away from, or the loops that you're trying to break. Five of Swords reversed, Strength, Queen of Pentacles reversed, the Moon reversed. Okay. Yeah, this is like pointing to the awakening. What's interesting about you, pile 2, is the thing that's trapped you in a way is that you are very strong and you don't give up. Like you really, like for you, the concept that you would give up the game, give up the cause or whatever, it almost seems antithetical. Your sense of yourself and your sense of your strength, and it is a strength, is what's catching you in the loop. Because this is saying that what you're aware of now, what's coming to the surface, is that there's something wrong with the core of what you're in, the organisation you're in, the political group you're in, the social group you're in, the spiritual group you're in, the relationship you're in. It feels much more kind of around things that you could have a dedication to rather than kind of love or whatever, but you are so dedicated and you see that as a strength. One of the things that is a challenge for you, and this is what keeps this here, your own strength becomes the challenge, and this is the awakening trying to come through to make you realize it. Sometimes you can't win in the situation that you're in because everything is stacked against you, and all that will happen is that you feel less and less strong. So it's like the very thing that you're trying to prove about yourself, the strength, saying in the situation, is the thing that's going to actually make you feel less and less and less secure. I saw this quite often actually in my job when I did human resources. There are certain circumstances in workplaces where you're not going to be able to shift a culture, or you're not going to deal with a psychopathic boss or whatever it might be. And I've seen people just stick it out because they feel, I've just got to stick it out. I've got to prove I'm strong enough. And I've seen it kind of destroy people. It like that sometimes you just have to realize the game is stacked against you to allow yourself to free yourself and find and now reprogram what you're doing and so forth. So I do think for you, pile 2, that you are very, very strong. You're very, very loyal. And generally speaking in your life, it's work for you to just stick it out and see it through. But that has caught you in a kind of a loop in this situation that you're in at the moment. And the awakening is to understand it isn't about winning the game in the game. It's about rising above the game, leaving the game, starting your own game, something like that. So let's see what the awakener role is meant to bring to you. Nine of Wands reversed, Three of Swords, Justice reversed, Queen of Wands. Okay. It's about self-actualization. It's really interesting, actually. I think this card came up in one of the other readings where the third person in this was female. There's something about the divine feminine energy here as part of the awakening, and particularly with the moon reverse, there's something about understanding that. So for some of you, this may be a spiritual awakening to bring in the divine feminine when it's been suppressed by very patriarchal sort of energy. But what the awakener is wanting you to see is you need to separate from the difficult people who are not going to be just. This is very much a call to move on, rise above the game. It's not to just get caught up in it. It's to move on and find something better because you have the strength. But it's like this kind of almost like is sucking up all your energy. And it's not worth it with the Queen of Pentacles reversed there. So it's saying you are strong enough to move on. You are strong enough to break the loop. You are strong enough to reprogram yourself and play a very different game entirely. So how does this all come together for you? Ace of Cups, Two of Pentacles. Okay. By kind of falling in love with choice and liberation, you remain the knight. So you start off as the Knight of Pentacles, who's doggedly sticking at it, and you become the Knight of Swords that moves much quickly because you've actually opened up your capacity for choice. When you get beyond something. You come out of a situation that's not giving you choice, that's stacked against you, and you get above that and you move on to something where you're awakened, then you actually have choice and you move much quicker towards your goals. So it's sort of saying that the game, with the loop that you're stuck in, it's because that particular thing is not going to return, whatever this is, whether, as I say, it's a job or a relationship or a social construct or whatever it might be, is not going to return the benefit for your loyalty. Instead, you should take your heart towards choices that you can make, and you're going to go a lot quicker. So you're meant to be the cosmic gamer, not be in the game, and you've got stuck in the game. But it's partly because you're kind of so determined that you get yourself stuck. So this awakening is understanding choice is more important than doggedly seeing something through. So let's see the fortune energy that's around you right now with these roles. The more you can be the cosmic gamer, the better, is what this is really saying. The more you can step out of a game and play it from a distance and watch it, as opposed to be right in the middle of it, the more awakened you're going to be. So what is the fortune energy using the Lenormand that is the sister deck to this deck? Fish, you're meant to be doing well with something. You're meant to be achieving something. So good fortune is meant to come from this. Once you actually do the aha moment, good fortune comes from it. Garden. And you'll find it through connecting with other people, I think, or other events. It's interesting. A garden is sort of like, it's usually like kind of the social events where we meet other people, and that's where we find here our fortune. And you've got gaming. It's like getting out of being just in the day-to-day and finding other people and people who are looking more at how things occur rather than being in the middle of it. Finding that kind of community, that kind of connection is important. And star, so that you can follow your star and have optimism. You're meant to be optimistic rather than just doggedly. And the optimism should come from finding your fortune and finding the right people and the right connections, not from just seeing something through. Okay, so what kind of spiritual gifts can you use for this part of your narrative, pile 2? Healing. Okay, there is some healing. And that makes sense, if you're deprogramming yourself and you're getting separate and you're realizing maybe, wow, I've put so much effort into something that is just caught in an infinite loop, and I've become a part of the game rather than being able to control the game, then you've got to heal within yourself to be able to go. And some of this could be very deep from childhood as well. Patterns that you did as a child that you keep repeating. So for some of you, looking back to that, what did you do to get your parents' love, to get approval at school, to have friends at school? There's things like that you need to heal from. And higher self, and connect to your higher self, literally get above it all. Your higher self is ready to sort of lift you out of the game and make you the gamer rather than being in the game. So that's very powerful. Let's get you some animal spirit guides then. You've got your higher self there, but what animal spirit guides can help you? Bear, the power of introspection. Yeah, it's introspection is an interesting way of putting it, because it's more into you, your role and what you're doing, the patterns that you're doing and how that's got you caught in the loop. It's not introspective into the situation, because that catches you in the loop even more. So it is about being, and also I think understanding by looking at yourself, how have you used your strength? Because I think you are very strong, but I think you've used it probably because of programming and when you were young that was like, I can't give up. But it's not about really giving up. It's about a strategic retreat and then a pursuing what you want to pursue from somewhere else, from a higher level. And we have dragon, the power of being, and being who you are, and awakening the gamer, awakening the one who actually plays the game rather than being in the game. I think that's the key issue for you. So we're just going to get an Astro Dice roll for each again to sort of see kind of aspects of life and how they play out. So firstly, for the cosmic gamer, we have Jupiter. So this is meant to be fortunate for you in Taurus, around the good life, around the things that you would want in life. And Taurus is stubborn though. So be aware it's your own stubbornness and you're generous and you want the best. What are you communicating? So communicate with others about what you would really want the game to be rather than just being in the game. That's the kind of thing. There's something about finding the right people, but it's like not being stubborn about I'm strong enough to do this. I have all the strength, and communicating that, because that's not taking you where you need to go. You need to get above it and communicate with the right people about what should the game be, not who's winning in the game. Okay, so then the loop maker, where do you need to kind of recognize it? Again, it's about communication. A lot of this has to do with communication because we've got Gemini there in the 5th house. So you could do it creatively. It could be done in love relationships as well, but it's about action and activity. So there's a creative way to come out of this. Like it's acting rather than reacting and creating through doing that and through communication. And then the awakener energy, when you sort of get it, you really see it. We've got the South Node. So what are you moving away from? The 8th house, the kind of the past, the really depth psychology stuff towards something that is more integrated. So this is integrating something very spiritual, very powerful, very dragon-like really, but it's integrating it in a way that lets you break free from past things that are no longer serving you. So this is something very deeply entrenched, as I say, and in a way it's been the thing that's made you know that you were strong and special, but it's like it's sapping you of your strength because there is another way to play this game, pole 2. Okay. So to finish off, we're just going to use another of Trisha's decks, which is the Neptune Moon one. I'm going to ask you to come up with a number between 1 and 5. And depending upon whatever that is, whatever card is for that, that's going to be the synthesizing message. So if you need to pause, do so now. Okay, number 1, ethereal echoes, past lives and timelines. Okay. Number 2, sovereign ruler. Number 3, purity surrounds. Number 4, shift in perspective. And number 5, all that sparkles. Okay. So if you chose number 1, some of this is so deeply ingrained it comes from past lives as well. But it's also suggesting once you actually get that and you see that, you'll be able to see the timelines. Like once you get to that cosmic gamer energy, it's like you see all the timelines and all the possibilities, but you also see what created the loops. What I like about that is I think it means that you won't repeat it. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it, and therefore you won't get trapped like that again. If you chose number 2, this is about you becoming sovereign to yourself, and you will have authority. Yeah, this is being the gamer, not being in the game. It's really classic here. There's something here about taking your own authority, a place where you can have authority. And it's interesting. I saw something the other day, and somebody was saying that the derivation of the word authority is author, is actually telling the story, telling the narrative. That's where it comes from. The author of something is that which began something. So I think this is saying like the trick of this is to become the gamer and to come almost create your own game rather than being caught in other people's games. That's what it is to be sovereign. If you chose number 3, purity surrounds, cleanse negative energy, then this is picking up from whatever this past stuff is in this programming. A big part of this is to actually clear out negative energy that made you feel that the only thing you could do is endure. Like you can do more than endure, pile 2. If you chose number 4, shift in perspective, a little different. It's not a big shift here. Like it's like just an aha moment that makes you realize what you can actually do rather than being caught and reacting to other people. And if you chose number 5, all that sparkles, valuable metals and minerals, it could be suggesting that for you, things like crystals and so forth will be helpful or energetically. Otherwise, I think it could also be all that sparkles can sometimes be all that glitters is not gold. I think there could be that thing of like, make sure you value the right things. Because at the moment, as I say, you're valuing endurance and stoicism, which are very admirable qualities, but they're not necessary. So make sure that you are valuing what is necessary for you. I mean, I say they're not necessary in this situation. They could be necessary in others. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3. So you came to the reading with Cosmic Conqueror, Control, Dominance Built on Ruin, this talks about. The other roles that are connected here for you are the wielder of the flames, strength, courage at the soul level, and the bridge holder, connection, uniting people, ideas and realms. I do feel this is about being a leader. I do feel that your narrative at the moment is about doing that. I think tarot will tell us a little bit more as to whether or not the cosmic conqueror here is that there has been something in your life and those that you are going to lead or whatever that has already come to some sort of a ruin. So you are helping rebuild that and take things forward, and it is taking strength and it is taking connection with others. Or whether you are going to be facing a battle with a dominant energy, and like it's a ruinous energy, so you have to be strong to do that and connect with the right people to bring forward a better form of sovereignty and a better outcome. Now, it doesn't have to be like a leadership in an organization or politically or socially. I mean, for many of you it might be, but it could be just leader within your family, leader within a group of friends. But there is definitely something here about the shifting of control, either building from ruin to a control that is more connected and a more pure thing, or it is about dealing first with the battle. So tarot, I think, will help us know where you're up to, because I think the first, we're going to do a line for each of these, and the main one we're going to do is the control. So this, I think, will tell us, are we talking about you in battle with a sovereign that is not positive, that you are kind of a bit like Kronos, Zeus dealing with Kronos and that kind of thing, if there's something like that sort of mythologically operating, or whether, as I say, there has been some form of calamity or breakdown or upset or something like that, and you've got to somehow lead beyond that and have the strength to lead beyond that. So let's just see what we're talking about. What, in terms of the cosmic conqueror, are you the conqueror that now has to rebuild, or do you have to conquer something that was too controlling? What are we looking at? Nine of Wands, the Magician, the Sun, Page of Wands, the Eight of Pentacles. I feel like this doesn't look like a battle. This looks like a battle is over, and it's all over bar the shouting, and it's time to cross the finish line. And there is going to be the energy to do that. So this looks to me like your narrative is about, there's been some sort of battle, there's been some sort of upset, there's been some sort of tension. And this is why this is particularly important, the bridge holder. I mean, it has taken strength and it takes courage to do this, but you are meant to communicate in a way that brings a new path, the new sun king, that kind of thing. So you're a communicator. This is about communication and about having gifts that are particularly important at the moment in whatever this is. And it could be the gifts of strength and being able to connect others. But I do feel you are being asked to give a new direction to something, and because there's been something that's fallen apart, and this is like a new direction. And there is a lot of energy. You have a lot of energy for that. And you will develop the skills as you go along. In fact, for you, the concept of being the conqueror probably feels a little bit alien. You probably feel more like the wielder of the flame, the person who's strong and who's done the battle and who's there for others and for the situation and so forth. This is about you claiming your own sovereignty, I think. But the thing that's taking you there is probably the bridge holder. It's like your communication skills, your connections with others, the talents you have, and the bringing together of other talents in some way. So it is a leadership role, but it's a leadership role that's necessary because everything's fallen apart. It's a bit like, you have in some of those sort of like post-apocalyptic movies or whatever. Everything's kind of fallen apart, and then a natural leader emerges in amongst the cast of characters that, helps build a new world. You're kind of like that. I think that's what we're talking about. So you're not having the battle. You're building the new bridges and the new pathways and holding the flame. Like what was important, here it's like holding the flame, like having the vision as well as the communication and the skills to actually lead people on the right path. So let's see how the holder or wielder of the flame also plays into this part of your narrative. Pile 3. The Hierophant reversed, the Three of Wands reversed, the World, the Hermit. Okay. So you're a bit of a reluctant leader, I have to say, and to some degree that's usually the best leader to have. I often say there's that saying that the person who's best suited to be the President of the United States is the person who doesn't want to be. That's kind of your energy. the wielder of the flame has come through. The flame has been something that was not legitimate. And you may even have been seen to be heretical in some way to like a group or a belief structure or a spiritual structure or a relationship or a family belief or something like that. But part of this is to recognize that was not the right pathway. So I don't know whether you were necessarily part of bringing the old system down, or whether part of the reason that you have the strength now to move forward is you do understand why it fell down and you know that's over. Like you can actually see that's occurred. But it is, you are coming out of, you prefer to be someone who watches. So to the degree that it's a wielder of the flame, you'd prefer to be someone who kind of like was keeping the home fires burning in a way, and like not necessarily having to lead out and sort it out. As I say, you're kind of reluctant, but you also have the spiritual awareness to be able to do it. And as I say, you have these skills. The skills that are going to be important for whatever is new here is being able to connect with others and unify others. So let's have a look at the bridge holder as the other part of this narrative for you. Two of Pentacles, the Moon reversed, Queen of Wands. She's turned up in every single one. That's really interesting. Knight of Swords. I do think what this is saying, it's interesting to me, the Queen of Wands upright, and she's turned up upright in every single reading, is the self-actualized person. So it makes sense in a way. This whole set of readings is about where is your narrative right now. So the bridge holder is where you really self-actualize. It's more like the cosmic conqueror here is the situation that you're in. The wielder of the flame is how you've understood the situation, and now the bridge holder is the one that really makes this happen, that makes choices real and brings things to the surface in a way that they need to be, so that people can be all that they could be. And you can make things a lot quicker. There's something about your talents and your ability to bring people together that makes it work quicker. I talk sometimes about the Gestalt effect, that whole, thing where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, where you get a bunch of talented people together. And if they're working together, each with honouring each other's talents, and they're different, they don't compete with each other, therefore they work really strongly together, then you get a much better outcome a lot quicker. There's something like that in you. You can bring people together in that way. You can recognize it, and you can see what the real choices are and what the end goal is. So therefore, you work quicker because you know how to bring other people in and make it work with other people. So let's bring all three roles together. What is that about for you? King of Swords, Page of Cups reversed, 5. Okay. This, I think, is actually, interestingly, I actually think it took bringing it all together is the thing that triggered all of this. And this is the description of what has fallen, which was a conflict-based dogma almost that was not emotional. Like, I think like there's a sort of a sense of like, this is moving from a situation where the rulership was of the mind, and it was through division and through almost a heartless thing. So that's what's triggered all of this. Because in a sense, the heart and the connection between others is now, so you're the opposite force. You're the opposite. This is why it's you. Like, it's whatever was dominating before used division, used a kind of heartless approach, and was all very much about here's the right rules and we only do it this way and we only say it this way. Whereas you're more about diversity, and you're more about connecting, and you're more about the heart. So that's the shift. And the ruin came, even though it was very clear in what it did, by being conflict-based. Its ruin was built within it. You are not going to create that. You're going to create the different structure in whatever this is playing out in your life. So let's see some fortune energies using the Lenormand, which is the sister deck to this tarot deck. What's the fortune energy around you at the moment? My reluctant leader. So firstly, we have mountain. You think, God, this is big. And it is. It's a big thing, and it's a big mountain to climb, but you are capable of doing it. And look how the kind of light energy is emerging. The second fortune energy around you at the moment. Garden. It's all about connecting with others and your capacity to connect with others. The garden is about that, where social activities and so forth help us achieve our goals. And anchor. there is the strength then to anchor in something new, to find the right people, find the right connections and see it through. So yeah, it's big. You're going to have to kind of like hunker down and do this, but you will have others around you, and it's part of your genius to bring the right people around you. So that's powerful. Let's see what spiritual gifts could be useful for you, pile 3. Attraction. Okay, the law of attraction in general, you know, that might be something about bringing in the kind of things you want. But I think it's also bringing people together. It's saying over and over, you have a genius for that. And taboo, okay. And being able to bring things to the surface that were taboo, sometimes do the things that were seen as taboo under this old situation, allow for people, even bringing in people who were seen as taboo or were somehow rejected by the old system may in fact be the way to do it. So you're able to kind of pick up every rock and look under it and get every talent, every skill, rather than feeling like things are limited in some way. So you're open-minded, I think. Let's see some animal spirit guides for you. Eagle, flying high, the spirit, yeah, like getting an eagle eye view, seeing what has happened, looking at it from a long distance perspective. And bull, consistent perseverance, yeah, and then you just keep on keeping on. There is definitely a sort of sense here that once you take on this role, it takes a while for this to occur, and you've got to commit to it. But you will have others around you, and you will have this higher order view than what used to be. So there's a lot of strength around you, but it's going to take time. Whatever this is going to take time. Okay, let's see with the Astro Dice what else we can find out. So we're just going to roll once for each of the roles. So around the Cosmic Conqueror, which I think is you becoming the new leader. Third house, so communication is very important. Cancer, the community, the group, the family, and love. Yeah, the heart. This is you bringing people together. You have a genius for this, like you really do. So this is going to be really, really important. And it's like your heart energy connecting with your communication skills creates the new family, the new relationship, the new group, the new belief structure, whatever it might be. Okay, so then the wielder of the flame, where you have to be strong. Like, where is the strength going to be necessary? Again, around the group and protecting that which is precious with Cancer. Saturn, the old world order, the rules, the King of Sword energy, and the second house, creating something that can last and something that is good and is more connected, but which also recognizes that you have to be strong enough and open enough. And this is why the bridge holder is so important, that it doesn't just recalcify like the old system. Because the second house is not just about creating the life you want, but it is in accordance with your ethics. So this is where you keep the faith in a way to the heart and to the principles. And then when we look at the bridge holder, creating the connections, Mercury again, what a surprise. Wow. The sixth house, that's what you're here to do. That's how you serve others. Gemini, you guys are amazing when it comes to talking. You'd be amazing negotiators, mediators, as I say, leaders. It's the force of what you say and how that connects with what you do and the synergy with that. But your openness to other ideas, other ways of communicating, connections. You're just the natural to build something new here because your communication skills are off the charts. Okay. So to finish off, we're just going to do a synthesizing message using another of Trish James's decks. This is the Neptune Moon deck. So I'm just going to deal out 5 cards. So choose a number between 1 and 5. If you have to pause because I'm about to deal out the synthesizing message. So for number 1, oh, what a surprise. Mercury's a messenger. Okay. Number 2, energetic shifts. Number 3, keeper of destiny. Number 4, sacred gratitude. And number 5, Neptune moon. Okay, so number 1, of all the people who've come to this reading, I mean, like everybody who's come to this reading is an amazing communicator. It's very much a child of Mercury, I would say, but you are particularly that. And I would say that Mercury is there to make sure you have the information that you need, the clarity that you need, the communication that you need. So this is a very mercurial reading for you. Look at where Mercury is in your chart. Look at aspects of Mercury with your chart around particular timelines and questions and choices, I think. If you chose number 2, energetic shifts attuned to subtle energies, you are very much able to read a room, read a situation, the subtler things. Pay attention to that. I feel like you have a very kinesthetic spiritual sense. I kind of feel like I want to like move my body when I'm sort of like reading this energy for you. I think that like you will pick up a lot in your body. Pay attention to that. If you chose number 3, this is destined. This is something big, and you were meant to do it, and it's in your Akashic records. So there's no escaping it. But the good thing is, I think you're going to be very, very good at it. And there's some sort of pattern or understanding, maybe looking at past lives that would tell you why this is happening. If you chose number 4, sacred gratitude, prayer and faith, this is saying, like being with the heart, the sacred heart, that's the important thing. And if you pray and you have faith in yourself and faith in the ideas that you're trying to do, then spirit will meet you and will help you with that. And then lastly, with Neptune moon, if you chose number 5, this is about really understanding what is true, true of yourself, true of others, and true of what is possible. Neptune can be the ideal, but it can also be illusion. But because this is saying illusion dissolves, your clarity and bringing the right people together takes away the illusion and what isn't true in this situation and allows for something that could really be the ideal. But as I say, it's going to take time and effort and strength to do it. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.